What's up, True Crime World? You're here with Luminol on the Wall. I'm Becky.
And I'm Bevy. And today's case will take you on a whirlwind of emotions where justice ultimately is not served, but not for a lack of trying, but rather a lack of concrete evidence proving a crime was committed. This is the case of Alissa Turney. Listeners' discretion is advised.
Well, hello there to all our true crime friends and family.
Yes, hello everyone,
Yes.
and Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Hopefully it's going well. Very beginning. We're just
Yeah.
like a day into it.
Yeah, hopefully nothing wild has happened that has made you write off 2025.
Yeah, because otherwise it's going to be a long-ass year.
A long year.
But, you know, New Year's, new people, like new you, new goals, new resolutions. Bev?
Yeah, I mean, sure.
First of all, before I ask you what goals or resolutions you have, do you believe in a New Year's resolution?
No. I think the concept is sweet, but have I ever wrote out New Year's resolutions for my life? That's a hard no, Becky.
No, that's fair. I also do not believe in resolutions. I believe in general goal setting, but not like, hey, 2025, New Year, I'm going to like start this. It's like, hey, in 3 months, this is my one goal. In 3 months, the next 3 months, this is my next goal. By the end of the year, I want to accomplish this.
No, you have like broad ideas of what you want
and then
to
actionable
maybe see happen.
Yeah, and then actionable stuff along the way to help me get there.
No,
Like
I think
setting
that's-
smart goals.
I think that's a good goal. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Do I partake in this?
No.
I just live my life. I make lists of things that need to get done, and I just do them randomly. I live my life
Chores.
blindly, Becky. I do. I'm like, let's just go with the flow. Woo!
Yeah,
That's
this
just
is
who I am.
a very classic like difference between you and me, and it's okay.
Yeah, it's totally okay.
I-
Be who you are.
Set goals every year.
Yes.
I actually usually set them by like December 1st usually for the following year. So then by January 1st I can look back at my previous goals of the like previous year and see if I hit them.
You're exhausting me.
All right. Well, sorry to
This
start
kind
your
of-
New Year's off exhausted, Beverly.
Hey, it's either you or the baby, you know? You or the baby. Or Craig. The people close to me, they're just exhausting.
So exhausting.
No, I'm
Thank
just
God
kidding.
we also bring like so much to your life.
But like just thinking of writing lists and thinking about my goals, just like you explaining what you do, I'm like, oh my God.
Is it not exciting to think of what you could accomplish in the year?
You know?
I also,
No.
on top of it, Bev, every year I look at my 2020, like going into 2025, I look at my like Chinese zodiac prediction for the year. And then I also look back at 2024 and see how much of it. Okay.
Just kidding.
Smelling your coffee breath here. Jesus. Okay, well, our 2025 goal, unbeknownst to you,
Yes.
is to get more downloads, to get more listeners. So tell
Awesome.
all your friends and family about us if you enjoy us, of course. And I assume if you're listening, it's because you're enjoying. So help us with my 2025 goals.
Hey, it's a good one. I'll get on board with it. I'm just, you know.
She's just along for the ride, folks.
Yeah, that's right. Becky's
just here.
Becky's the, what is it? The caboose? You're the caboose. Yeah, I'm just the trade. I'm just moving along.
You're the coal
caboose.
wagon.
Yeah. Hey. Why is that so funny to you? Give
I
me
don't
a
know.
break.
I don't know.
All right, moving on. So today's case, Becky, is
Yes.
about Alissa Turney.
Mm-hmm.
She was born in Phoenix, Arizona on April 3rd, 1984, to her parents Barbara Farner and Stephen Stram. Alyssa's mother, Barbara, already had a son named John from a previous relationship. And when Alissa was only a couple of years old, cracks in her parents' relationship began to show. Around this time, a Michael,
Just Michael.
a man named Michael Turney entered the picture. Michael was a former deputy sheriff turned electrician. Now, the details of how Barbara and Michael met are debated. Michael claimed they met in a park when Barbara and Alissa were there after fleeing a fight with Barbara's then-husband, Stephen. However, Barbara's family suggests the meeting happened purely by chance and not under those circumstances. Pretty big discrepancy, I must say, but
Yes.
regardless of how they met, the connection between Barbara and Michael was intense, and they began an affair. With existing tensions in Barbara and Stephen's marriage, the affair added to the strain, ultimately leading to their divorce. Barbara and Michael wasted no time after beginning this affair, Becky, and her marriage ending with Stephen, because they married almost immediately after the divorce. Michael brought 3 boys from a previous relationship into this new marriage, and he then adopted both Alissa and John. And not too long after the couple said, "I do," Barbara and Mike had a daughter of their own named Sarah, making their family blended AF, having 6 children in total.
That's a lot of children, Bev.
That's a lot.
Like, wow. Good for you.
Yes. And of course, with this large family, over the next few years, the family dynamics shifted. Michael became increasingly controlling, which is like not where I thought that would go, but he did. So he would put a recording device on the family's home phone, recording all incoming and outgoing phone calls from the house, preventing family members from speaking freely. And his actions set the stage for suspicion about the safety of the marriage and the family that was close to Barbara. Now, concerns about the Turney household arose, particularly from Barbara's friends, who noted worrying comments Barb had made in passing alluding to violence in the home. Child Protective Services, also known as CPS, had become involved multiple times. In one incident, baby Sarah wandered outside and was hit by a car. On another occasion, Alissa was hospitalized after ingesting Michael's medication, prompting a stomach pumping. Additionally, when Alissa was 7, she was taken to the doctor based on the exam that they did on her. They suspected that she had also been sexually assaulted. And for Barbara, this incident was the final straw. As it should be, right? Like, you would hope that any mother who found out that about, like, their child would take it seriously.
Oh, for sure.
So Barbara began babysitting other children and squirreling money away so that she could take her children and move away from Mike.
Which I can imagine is quite the task. You have like 6 kids to move.
Oh,
like, that is
yeah.
a lot. Although I do wonder, 3 of them were Michael's before, so maybe she only actually had to move 3.
Either way, 3 is still
That's
a lot.
A
And
bit of
to
planning.
like kind of be doing this all behind the scenes, you know, to make sure that your family will be safe if and when you do choose to make that jump to leave the house, right?
Oh, for sure.
What's even worse, Becky, is that during this time, Barbara received a devastating diagnosis of having advanced bone and lung cancer. She underwent aggressive treatment in Phoenix, but Michael insisted it was best for the family to relocate to Redding, California, which was about a 14-hour drive away from all of her friends and family.
To put it in perspective, that's like driving from Calgary all the way to like almost the most northern part of BC you could possibly get. And for any Calgarians, Albertans, people in BC, whatever you're called, it's a long-ass drive.
Yeah, it's definitely far, especially when you're going through something so intense.
Ugh.
To be away from your friends and family,
It seems like a weird decision, right?
it does seem like a weird decision. And of course, Barb's family found this move puzzling and really quite unnecessary, especially with the renowned Mayo Clinic in Phoenix so close by. They believed Michael was isolating Barbara from her support system, which is really shitty. Even if she wasn't sick, that's shitty.
Yeah.
But considering how sick she is,
Why would you make that choice?
that's rude.
Yeah.
Now, witnesses, including healthcare staff, also reported that Michael mistreated Barbara in her final months, berating her for, quote-unquote, leaving him to care for 6 children alone, as if her illness was a choice.
Yeah, like, way to go, Michael.
You're a dickhead, bro.
Yeah.
And while Barbara battled cancer, Mike pursued other women, even showing interest in Barbara's married sister, Lynette. He also had irresponsibly quit his job, leaving the family without health insurance. And unfortunately, after an intense battle with cancer, Barbara passed away on February 28th, 1993. Her children were rightfully devastated.
No, for sure.
And at the time of her death, Alissa was only 9 years old. So after Barbara's passing, Michael eventually moved his family back to Phoenix, Arizona, and became cold and distant towards his children, specifically Alissa. By this point, the 4 oldest siblings had moved out of the home. Unfortunately, a lot of the household responsibilities ended up falling on Alissa, as she was now the oldest child in the home. And Alissa would regularly cook and clean for the family. And to top it all off, Mike remained controlling and strict, particularly with Alissa. Like, she's doing all this stuff for the house, really stepping into the role of a mother, which she shouldn't have to do at her age. But then she also has Mike, who's an asshole.
Yeah.
So she's got a lot to deal with.
Yeah, poor girl.
And many people believed that Mike's behavior in the home looked a lot like coercive control over his daughters, which is just like an act or a pattern of acts of assault, threats, humiliation, intimidation, or other abuse that is used to harm, punish, or frighten the victim, I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that kind of definition, you might think that even his wife, Barbara,
experienced the same thing, right? Now, over the years, Mike claimed Alissa had a learning disability, and he would tell everyone, despite the school's belief that she did not have a learning disability, saying that they believed she was just average. Her grades and behavior were consistent with other students her age. And Michael even went as far as to attempt to sue the school when they refused to place Alissa in special education classes. So it's just another way, like I would say, kind of humiliating her, right?
Oh, for sure. You have all the normal grades, behavior as all your classmates and friends.
Yeah.
But then you have your fucking dad over there being like, actually, she's stupid. She's dumb. Like, what could be worse? Like, talk about hitting someone, like, right in the confidence, right?
No kidding, especially at that age. And I mean, I understand if it was actually true and he was advocating for his daughter, but it doesn't look like that's the case in this instance.
No.
So this narrative of Alissa having learning and memory issues created tension among her siblings, especially Sarah, the youngest and most impressionable, because Michael continuously told Sarah negative things about Alissa, which strained their relationship. I kind of see it as like, when parents get divorced and then they tend to talk poorly about the other parent, and it can cause tension between the child and the other parent that's like getting negatively talked about.
For sure. Like a bit of alienation as well.
Totally. So interesting that that's what's happening in this situation, but with his 2 children. Kind of messed up.
Yeah, it is.
Now, to add to the story of Michael's control, it was also said that he installed security cameras throughout the home, surveilling every move his children made. And he monitored Alissa relentlessly. He even filmed her at work at Jack in the Box, which led to disciplinary action for Alissa because of how it disturbed her coworkers. So now his control is affecting her life outside of the home as well, and her workplace. That's really messed up.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Kristen Riguidel, and I'm a licensed insurance broker across Canada and in the United States. But I want to ask you a question. Is life super predictable? No, there's always going to be curveballs in life, but there's 2 things that I can guarantee you. 1, we're all going to have to pay taxes, and 2, we're all going to die. I know, it's morbid, right? But it's true. And that's where life insurance comes in. Life insurance is a selfless act. At the end of the day, it's meant for your loved ones in the event you were to pass away unexpectedly. And not that money can ever replace us, but I always liked the idea of leaving some money behind for my brothers, whether that be for their college education, or a down payment on a house, or even just time off of work to grieve. Because the last thing I would want for my family is to have to go to work and pay the bills while they're grieving. And so life insurance gives you the peace of mind that no matter when you pass away, your loved ones are taken care of. With flexible plans, affordable premiums, and coverage that fits your unique needs, I do the shopping around for you so that you can get the protection without the hassle. Because taking care of your future doesn't have to be complicated. If you'd like to discuss options, you can send me an email at krigidel15lrxc@wfgmail.ca or give me a phone call at 403-785-2999. 888-7670 to learn more and get a free quote today, so you can live tomorrow with peace of mind.
It is. And there's videos online and in other podcasts like Dateline 2020, and it shows some of that home footage. And in one of the videos, Alissa came out of Jack in the Box and like acted so casually and was like, Dad, I just got in trouble because he was sitting out there being a fucking creep.
Right.
Like, it was so normal for her, unfortunately. But to everyone else, it was just like,
Like, why is your dad stalking you?
yeah, exactly. So
Making the customers uncomfortable with his peering weirdo eyes.
yeah, weirdo.
Now, as Alissa entered her teens, she did want independence, but that often led to conflicts with Michael. To others, like, Alissa just appeared like a typical teenager. You know, she dabbled in alcohol a little with friends. She had a boyfriend. She held a job. However, Michael, in his coercive control tactics, painted her as rebellious, troubled, which he fed this narrative not only to Sarah, but others as well. So with that picture sufficiently painted of how rude Michael is, we're going to jump forward to May 17th, 2001. And 17-year-old Alissa is at school at Paradise Valley High School. And that day, Michael picks her up early from school without any reason or advance notice. And on their way out, Alissa says goodbye to her boyfriend, telling him that she'd see him later. Alissa planned to attend a party that night, and according to Michael, the two of them went out to lunch and discussed the house rules.
Because she didn't already know them.
Yeah, talk about a thrilling lunch
Yeah,
to
thanks for
have
lunch,
with your dad, right?
Dad.
He claimed Alissa wanted more freedom, but he refused to compromise anything, telling her, and I quote, "You have to live by daddy's rules or daddy will be a nervous wreck." Mind you, she's 17.
I was just going to say,
weird.
Isn't it weird for a dad to refer to himself as daddy?
Yeah, I totally think that's
When you have
fucking
like
weird.
a teenage girl, maybe like a young girl, like that's normal, like daddy.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean, sometimes I'm like, daddy, like, you know, when I call dad that, but he's not going to be like, listen to daddy.
Daddy's rules.
Like, I don't know if
Come
that term
and
has
talk
just
to
been
daddy.
like, over-sexualized. Obviously it has. Look at us.
Oh, we're bad. Maybe
But-
that is bad. It's weird.
No,
It's weird.
to refer to yourself like
Gross.
that. I don't know. It's just odd. And then when you pair that with like the sexual abuse that she went through potentially, like we haven't expanded on that, but obviously there was evidence of her being sexually abused. It's weird.
It is weird. And also to point out, she's a 17-year-old girl. You would think she's almost 18. She's almost an adult. She's almost out of high school. Like, she should have max, like, freedom, I would think,
You would
by
have
this point. Or
yeah,
close to.
like you would have a lot of freedom
Yeah.
at least.
Like,
you
I
would think your parents would trust you enough to trust your actions.
and make your own decisions in life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, when I think of when I turned 17, Bev, I had my own car. I didn't even have a curfew, although the rule was you go to school. If you don't, there's going to be a curfew.
Right, of course.
You know, but mom and dad let me pretty much do anything I wanted.
Yeah,
by
they
that
trusted
age?
your discretion, right?
Yeah, and if something came up, they addressed it then.
But it's just weird that he has this, like, he takes her out of school early, sits her down, and is like, live by daddy's rules. Don't you make a mistake. It's
Yeah,
just,
It's not right.
It's just weird.
It is.
Now, according to Michael, after this weird lunch, he dropped Alissa off at home, where she went to her room upset with the lack of compromise that Mike was willing to give her.
Yep.
Then Mike says he left to pick up 12-year-old Sarah from a school trip to the water park. However, that afternoon, Michael wasn't there to pick up Sarah as planned. So she actually went with friends to smoke cigarettes and hang out instead. Maybe he should be having the talk with her, you know?
You're right. Like, she's smoking cigarettes
She's
at 12.
12.
Yeah. It said she was actually, like, I listened to her podcast. Sarah has a podcast.
Okay.
And, like, she was nervous that he would smell the smoke on her.
Right.
Because, you know, cigarettes smell,
Yeah.
right?
And apparently, in that household, you live by daddy's rules, and I don't think one of the rules is
Smoking cigarettes,
Smoking
at the
cigarettes
age
at
of 12. Exactly. So she was nervous when she got in the car.
Yeah, so when he eventually arrived, it was said that Michael seemed distracted and told Sarah about his argument with Alissa, mentioning that she wasn't answering her phone. So concerned, Sarah also called Alissa, but her calls went unanswered. And when they got home, Sarah ran to Alyssa's room, but she wasn't there. And it was noted that the normally tidy room was in disarray. Alyssa's backpack was dumped out and a handwritten note was found, which read, Dad and Sarah, when you dropped me off at school today, I decided that I really am going to California. Sarah, you said you didn't want me around. Look, you got it. I'm gone. That's why I saved my money. Dad, I took $300 from you. Alyssa. The note was undated, and Alyssa's phone, her makeup, toothbrush, and other personal belongings were still in the house. And her bank account, which had $1,800, remained untouched from that point on.
I feel as though a teenager skipping town would most likely not be leaving without at least a cell phone and her money.
Yeah, I mean, like the $300 that she supposedly stole from her dad.
Why not use your own money?
Yeah, that makes 0 sense.
No, 0 cents.
Right? Like, unless she somehow felt like she didn't want to be tracked and it was cash or something. But even still, like, she's already told them that she's moving to California or whatever. Like, it's no secret.
Yeah.
So, no, that's sketch.
And if you didn't want to be tracked, why not just go take all the money out locally and then travel with cash? I mean, maybe not smart to have that much, but...
No, it's probably the smartest thing to do. You don't want to be stranded somewhere in a different state with freaking $300 to your name. That's
exactly
ludicrous.
It is. It's so silly.
So, despite some of the inconsistencies that we're mentioning, Michael calls the police to report Alissa as a runaway, suggesting she might have gone to stay with her aunt in California. And because Alissa was labeled a runaway, no search was conducted, no Amber Alert was issued, and they basically took Mike's words as face value and left it alone. So no efforts were made to locate her after that. And about a week later, Michael claimed he received a scrambled phone call from Alissa. And when Mike asked if this was Alissa on the line, she allegedly cursed and told him to leave her alone.
Which is, doesn't that seem like so silly? Because it's like, why bother calling? Just to be like, hey, go fuck yourself. Don't talk to me ever again. Why initiate that conversation, right?
No, that's just kind of weird. I mean, if you're really pissed, you might just be like, hey, fuck you. Bye.
This is a prank call from Peter Griffin. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Like, no.
What is that,
I don't
right?
know. Yeah.
It does seem like he's setting up a situation where she is saying, like, she's never coming back. Like, I don't want to be around you. But he's kind of doing it in a weird way. Like, oh, I received a phone call. She told me to leave her alone, you know? Like, again, there's no reason to search for her. There's nothing fishy going on. It's just a teen who is a runaway who doesn't want anything to do with her family anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that seems what he's setting up.
Yeah.
To be able to tell everyone, right? Now, mind you, could it have happened?
Maybe.
Potentially.
Yeah.
But does it seem fishy and sketchy and like it's totally made up? It does.
It's
Becky.
starting to feel that way.
It's starting to feel that
The
way.
one thing that I kind of question is, okay, you know how we know most crimes, a higher percentage happen to the, or like most crimes are committed by the people that surround us the most and by our loved ones.
Yes.
Family, close friends, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, you're most likely killed or hurt by the people that you know.
Yeah. So why wouldn't the police at least look a little bit into it? Like, call the aunt, be like, did she arrive? Is that the plan? You know?
No, I get it. But also, if a parent says my child ran away from home and they've painted and set it up as though that's exactly what happened, then the police are like, I'm not going to waste my time on a runaway, right?
Yeah, she's 17, so she has every right to be missing if she wants, ultimately. Yeah. I mean, she's not an adult, but she's close to it. So I do see, like, that gray area.
Yeah. I mean, I wish that police had infinite resources to really conduct a search or to check everything out that they get a tidbit on or information on, but I don't think that's the case, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they're going to, like, trust Mike's word for it. Like, they have no reason not to. She ran away from home. There's a letter stating this. He's claimed it. He's the parent, right? Like, up until this point, they are just going to take what he says at face value and
leave it at that.
Leave it at that.
Now, the one thing I actually want to point out, Bev, you know how you said that the note was not dated?
Yes.
So this actually adds a lot of controversy to this case. And I'm just going to throw it in there now so that as we go on, you have that in the back of your mind. And it's, number one, it's not dated. So
it could have been written whenever.
It could have been written at any time. Alissa at some point had made plans for this summer to go spend it with her aunt in California.
Right.
So could this have been written earlier? Maybe Mike found it, or maybe someone found it. Or was it written at that exact moment?
Right.
That's where some controversy comes in down the road.
Right, of course.
So keep that in your memory banks.
It's in there, Becky.
Good.
So going back to the call, though, because obviously Michael's daughter is calling him, basically telling him to fuck off. So, like any concerned parent, he asked the police to trace the call, but they couldn't. And then it was said that Michael later traveled to Riverside County, California, only about 3 to 4 hours away from Phoenix, after obtaining records indicating the call came from a payphone there. So Mike went to hand out flyers looking for Alissa in that area, but his efforts were ultimately futile and no leads emerged. And Alissa was never heard from again, and the case seemingly went cold for years, until 2006 when a convicted murderer, Thomas Heimer, confessed to killing Alissa.
Ooh.
Yes. So it takes pretty morbid turn here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a runaway, now a victim of murder. You know, not good. So this Thomas Heimer guy was already serving a life sentence for the murder of Sandra Lee Goodman in Fort Lauderdale. And Heimer claimed he killed 21 women, including Alissa.
That's a lot of women.
Yes. So he tells police that he met her at a hotel, that she was a heroin addict with track marks, and that she had unusual sexual traits. And while at the hotel, they engaged in sexual acts, and then he killed her before dismembering her body and disposing of her body in a recycling thing. He then gave the jewelry Alissa was wearing to one of his ex-girlfriends. However, his confession quickly fell apart because Alissa's friends and family refuted claims that she was a heroin addict. And her boyfriend at the time vehemently denied that Alissa had unusual sexual traits, as well as Heimer's ex-girlfriend denied ever receiving jewelry. And he also failed a polygraph test. And so there was ultimately no evidence to support his story.
Right. And you know what? Within those 21 women, Bev, that he claimed to have killed, one of them was J.C. Dugard, who is alive.
Right. So this guy's like
Off his
spewing some
rocker.
bullshit.
Yeah. So it's pretty easy to decide that he most likely had nothing to do with Alissa in any way.
Right. Which I think is an unfortunate thing that he did claim this, because it kind of takes, like, if there was any pressure at all, it kind of takes the pressure off of the situation of her home life and how she just, like, disappeared with really no trace, right?
Yeah.
Like, now there's another thing to look at. Even though it was really discredited, it just, like, confuses the whole thing altogether, right?
Yeah.
So
And
I just think that's bullshit.
for sure. And I could imagine that some people just hear little tidbits, and it could put doubt in people's mind that she was a runaway and something, you know, maybe she's just a runaway or maybe something bad happened to her, but she's like, they've placed it in her mind like she's a heroin addict, having sex with weird men, you know, stuff like that. So it kind of paints a weird picture that shouldn't be placed on
her
Alissa
at all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just convolutes everything,
Mhm.
and I just find that a little bit annoying. So fuck you, Heimer, for like wanting some type of sick credit for crimes you didn't commit.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of fuck you for confusing this whole shit.
Yeah. People are weird, really weird. But the one good thing about Mr. Heimer over here is that it actually reignited interest in Alyssa's case.
Exactly. So police actually took it pretty serious and began interviewing friends and family, which uncovered troubling patterns in Michael's behavior that raised serious questions about his involvement in Alyssa's disappearance. Like, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
Your story didn't make sense. The fact that all of her belongings were still at her house, even though she, quote unquote, left to go to California to be with her aunt, like, that all does not make any sense whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
And to top it off, we haven't said it, even though it was, like, clearly stated earlier, but we haven't, like, made a point to focus on this, is he was late picking up Sarah.
Right?
Like, why were you late?
Why?
Why was
he
Alissa
late?
with you? And then you guys get in a fight, and then all of a sudden, you're late picking up your other daughter. Like, what happened in that time frame of you going for lunch with Alissa? Allegedly, let's be clear, because that's Michael's words that he went for lunch with her,
Yep.
to all of a sudden now you being late to pick up your second daughter. Like, what was going on in that time, right? We only have Michael's account of what went on, but truthfully, that is the gray area. We do not know for sure at all what the fuck happened in that time.
No, that is the truth, Bev. We have no idea and will most likely never know.
So obviously, when they look into the relationship between Michael and Alissa, the police start to uncover the disturbing aspects of his controlling nature, his tendency to record phone calls, his extensive security camera footage, and the troubling dynamic between him and his stepdaughter. And during their investigation, Mike sent the police a video of Alissa making out with her boyfriend on the family couch. However, when they asked him for the security footage from the day Alissa disappeared, Mike refused to provide it. He claimed he had already reviewed the tapes and found nothing significant.
Isn't that totally stupid? You're like, okay, sure. You know, you're the last person to apparently see her alive. And we're just going to have to, you think that's acceptable for us to just take your word for that?
Yeah.
Cool, Mike.
He
Cool.
does, though. That's the crazy thing. It's like, but you found it significant to show a video of your teenage daughter making out with her boyfriend? Like, bro.
Also, to keep in mind, this is 5 years later. Why do you still have that video, Mike?
Of her making out with her boyfriend
Like-
and not the day she disappeared. Like, what?
What is right?
So police couldn't ignore how cooperative everyone in Alissa's life was except Mike. He stood out as the only person withholding information. Alissa's boyfriend at the time, John Lackman, told authorities that Alissa had confided in him about a disturbing incident. She said that on one occasion, Mike had taken her out of school early, driven her to a deserted area, and made an inappropriate move on her. And Alyssa's aggressive response prevented anything further from happening at the time. And adding fuel to the fire, Becky, Alyssa's boyfriend John revealed that Mike had pulled him aside to claim that Alissa was cheating on him. And this actually planted a seed of doubt in John's mind and caused a major fight between him and Alissa. And this was the only fight they had to that magnitude. Now, let's unpack that a little bit because holy crap, it seems like with the sexual abuse allegations that occurred way earlier in her life and the obsession with monitoring her whereabouts and what she was doing, the fact that Mike sent the video of her making out with her boyfriend, it's almost like that was so significant. Like that almost pissed him off, right? And then parallel this situation that the boyfriend is talking about with the day that she disappeared, takes her out early from school, like goes to a deserted place to try and make a move on her. What if, Becky, and obviously I'm speculating because we don't know, but what if he did the same thing, but this time took her to that deserted place, killed her, and left her for dead, right?
Well, exactly.
Disposed of her body.
It does leave that question in your mind that could be a possibility.
Yeah, it just seems eerily similar. Like takes her out of school early, takes her to a deserted place. Like, this has happened before. Maybe it's what happened on the same day he took her out of school early. And then top it off that he's trying to get in between Alissa and her boyfriend. Like, that's just creepy as fuck.
It is. Now, the one thing that is problematic with this, because hearing this from someone that she confided in, you obviously sit there thinking like, oh my God, this actually makes Mike look really bad.
It does.
Right? But the problem is like to take this any further in regards to like going to trial, stuff like that. It's all completely hearsay. So it's virtually inadmissible in court too, right?
Yeah.
So
it doesn't help like convicting him of any crime, but it definitely helps to paint the picture of who he was and how he was with Alissa. And it kind of gives some type of motive for a potential crime to have been committed, which is valuable. But again, like you said, there's no real concrete evidence here.
Yeah.
So as investigators delve deeper into this case, they are alarmed by how much surveillance footage that Mike had accumulated over decades. The sheer volume and invasive nature of the videos raised concerns.
For sure. And the one thing that makes what I think about is we don't know what 100% surveillance footage he has. And I think personally, if someone has security cameras in their home, it's in the common areas, you know, where you'd catch a criminal breaking in, stuff like that. But what if he also had it in the bedrooms and stuff?
Right.
Right? Like that's what kind of actually jumps out to me.
Yeah. Well, they do say it was invasive in nature.
Exactly.
So that might make sense. Or like the bathroom or something, right? Like it's just, it's really weird.
Exactly.
So now, Becky, before we get any further into this case, we have to give a little bit of background on Mike. So back in the 1980s, Mike worked as a union electrician and had filed a complaint to the union about unsafe working conditions before leaving the company. And throughout his life, he maintained the belief that the union held a grudge against him and was out to get him or his family because he issued this complaint. And because he really felt like the union was holding a grudge against him, he kind of relayed to the police that he had a theory that the union had something to do with Alissa's disappearance.
Right.
So his past is kind of bleeding into this like situation, and it seems like a very far-fetched theory completely, and it just seemed nonsensical to the police, right? But what it did was show to the police that there was a possible mental health issue with Mike.
Well, for sure. Because imagine this big union you work for. You make a complaint against them, and then they're coming after you and your family, like on a personal level. I could understand if your union is the like mob,
right?
But like just, you know, a normal working union, they're like, I don't care. You don't work here anymore. Who effing cares?
No.
It's like irrelevant, your complaint.
It kind of shows like paranoia on his part, right?
Yeah.
So the police consulted a psychologist who agreed that Mike did appear to have a personality disorder, but he was not officially diagnosed with anything. Now, obviously, this case is really taking a different turn than just a simple runaway.
Yeah.
And because of the concerns that the police now had about Mike in relation to the disappearance of Alissa, they decided to do a search warrant for the Turney home on December 11th of 2008, which was long overdue.
Yep.
And they were hoping to find footage or evidence to shed light on Alissa's disappearance and the relationship between her and Mike. They ended up bringing in a SWAT team with them because as they got to know Mike, they found out that he owned a significant number of firearms, so they wanted to protect themselves when doing the search warrant. And so they planned to detain him during the search so that things did not get dangerous.
Right.
And when officers arrived, Mike was conveniently walking to his mailbox, so they were able to detain him with no issue. And at the time that he was detained, he was carrying 2 pistols, 7 loaded magazines, and a knife. So, I mean, were they right in bringing a SWAT team?
Most likely.
Yeah, like, seriously.
You bet. 7 magazines?
Who the fuck carries that out to their mailbox?
What does your day-to-day look like, Mike? Like, what is your motive, Mike?
Yeah. Was the union around the corner spying on you from behind the trees? Like, what's
sounds
going
like
on?
they were with that amount of ammo.
Now, what the police found inside the home was so shocking, Becky. They found 19 firearms, 2 silencers, 26 pipe bombs, 3 incendiary devices, which are basically devices that are used to start fires, kind of like, and destroy evidence and things like that.
Oh,
like
lovely.
if you think of Harry Potter, incendio, you know?
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
I get what you're throwing down, although I have not really seen Harry Potter.
It's like a fire starting spell. So you can see J.K. Rowling, like, how I don't know how she came up with it, right?
Yeah. She's very logical in the names of her spells versus real words or real things.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, whoa.
Wow. J.K. Rowling. Wow. You are impressing me more now than ever before.
Yeah, your literary knowledge is outstanding.
Are you like a real
Are you
wizard?
a writer? No, just kidding. Are you a real wizard? She says. Either way, pretty cool.
Yes.
They also found a manifesto titled The Diary of a Madman Martyr, as well as a document allegedly signed by Alissa stating that Mike had never physically or sexually assaulted her. Ew.
Is that like a normal thing people just sign, Bev? Like, am I out to lunch?
Well, I feel like after
accusations
maybe, but I'm still like, whoa, that's fucking creepy.
Isn't it?
They also found video footage of Alissa spanning decades, but notably, no footage from May 17th, 2001. The day
No,
she
get out of here. Get out of here, Beth. That's like, how do you have decades of material, but shockingly, you just, that one day it's just missing.
Yeah.
This literally reminds me of like the Tamla Horsford case where it's like, conveniently that one damn day, cameras just weren't working. I don't know what happened. It got accidentally deleted. Like bull fucking shit.
Yes.
Oh, I feel like I'm
getting heated over here.
Yeah, I feel like I'm pulling a Bev here.
Yeah.
Bull fucking shit.
Bullshit. I know, but it's really ludicrous.
Yeah, I hate
it really, honestly, paints a really scary picture in terms of like what happened with Alissa. And to top it all off, the last thing that they found was bondage and snuff porn videos edited to loop scenes of women being bound, gagged, and killed on camera.
Okay.
So like, who are you, Mike? Who are you?
Yeah. Fetish? Okay. You know what? Bondage, even gagging, whatever. We don't shame fetishes. Well,
I can shame this one. That's fucked up.
Snuff porn? That's not right. It's just not right, Beth.
No, I'm like, I just don't think women being killed on camera.
Anyone is cool.
You know, I don't think that, I'm not down with that fetish.
No, we are not down with that sickness.
No. Get down with the sickness!
That's what I was going for.
I know. So, anyways, none of the weapons that were found in the home or the explosives had been registered.
That sounds right.
So to make sense of kind of everything, we have like two different things going on with the evidence found, right? Like one speaks to his relationship with Alissa and potentially the sexual nature of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other kind of coincides with his like aggression or anger towards the union.
Yeah. / terroristic nature.
Exactly. So I don't know, it just kind of seems like there's a lot going on there. But a lot of it actually makes sense with what we know about Mike so far. So, given the alarming arsenal that he had acquired, police did speculate that Mike might have been planning an attack on the Union Hall. Yeah. And when confronted, Mike claimed he didn't know about the pipe bombs and accused the police of planting them.
Oh, yeah, logical. Yeah, good idea, Mike.
He insisted that he had intended to go to the Union Hall to kill himself in a dramatic bid to draw attention to Alyssa's case. Police, however, did not believe this. They believed that Mike was about to head to Union Hall and blow it up or attempt to. They did not believe it had anything to do with Alissa, and more so about his conspiracy about the Union coming after him.
No shit. And also, I'm sure everyone else is thinking this. If he were to go and kill himself down at the hall because of Alissa and all this stuff surrounding the case, what value does that add to anything? Unless you maybe are guilty of something. Also, I don't think he was telling the truth, to be honest. Why have that many pipe bombs? Like, that is, one is not even necessary, but what, 26?
Yeah, and honestly, he really contradicts himself here because he says the police planted these bombs, he had no knowledge of them, but yet he was planning on blowing himself up in a crazy fashion to get attention to Alyssa's case. Like, that is contradictory. He obviously knew about the bombs, okay? Like, we all know it. But moreover, it's all really confusing, but I will have to say that all of this really points to a guy who's not really stable and someone who might have some psychological things going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not normal behavior.
Yeah. So for possessing illegal and unregistered items, Mike pleaded guilty to unlawful possession of destructive devices. And this felony offense carried a maximum sentence of 10 years, but Mike only served 7 of those. And within his incarceration, several people close to Alissa came forward and shared unsettling details. Alissa apparently had told friends about waking up once, tied to a chair, gagged, and Mike on top of her. Which,
that sounds like that snuff film.
Yeah, it checks out, right?
No.
Now, another disturbing story that came out was about Mike's nephew, David, who apparently told friends and family that he recalled an incident from 1998 to 1999 and said that while staying at the Turney home, David came home from work one evening, put on a VHS tape of Dr. Dolittle, and was horrified by what played instead. The footage showed Alissa laying on the couch wearing only shorts, her face covered by a newspaper. And then in a subsequent clip, another woman was in the same position, but Mike then appeared in the room. And disturbed, David packed his belongings and left the house that night. Mike apparently later dismissed David's claims to the family, accused him of being a drunk, and said he didn't know what he was talking about. Now, what's really unfortunate about this is that even though this story was, like, going on throughout the family and people knew about it, the police never followed up with David. And in a more recent Instagram post in 2024, Sarah, Alyssa's sister, claimed that the police never ended up speaking to David about this at all. So it's really just hearsay, and maybe it happened, maybe it didn't, but why would he express that to friends and family if that wasn't something that actually occurred? And why would Mike have to defend it and make these claims about him being a drunk if this story didn't come out? And why would the nephew lie, right?
Yeah.
And either way, it paints a picture of Mike
for sure
as exactly who we are all thinking he is.
Yeah,
a fucking pedophile.
It's in line with some of the other stories too. So when you hear it, you're like, it's not actually that outrageous based on the other claims.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. So now this case kind of takes a little bit of a turn because in 2003, a hiker discovered bones in a California desert, which coincidentally was a location that matched one mentioned in Mike's manifesto that they found in the Turney home. Alyssa's sister, Sarah, also found a map in the Turney home with coordinates matching the site where the remains were found.
And do you remember that elusive phone call
Yes.
where Alyssa's bitching Mike out?
Yep. Telling him to fuck off, apparently.
That payphone was in the same area as well.
Whoa. Whoa.
Whoa.
Talk about like a mic drop moment.
Yeah.
Right? Well, unfortunately, the bones couldn't be conclusively identified because it was so many years later, right? Although investigators suspect that they could belong to Alissa.
Yeah.
Which I would be shocked if they didn't. Honestly, at this point, with everything, like, too much coincidental shit to not be the case. It just seems like that to me.
Yeah, and it's just too freaking bad that they just are not able to identify those remains, right?
Yeah.
It's just too bad.
Exactly. So even though there is a clear lack of evidence with regards to these remains, the district attorney brought charges against Mike. And in August of 2020, Mike Turney was arrested in Arizona and indicted by a Maricopa County grand jury on second-degree murder charges in connection with Alyssa's disappearance. Jurors in the trial heard testimony from key witnesses, including detectives Stuart Somershoe and William Anderson, and Alyssa's former boyfriend, Jonathan Lackman. Alyssa's sister, Sarah, testified about her father's chilling words. And that was that he promised to tell her what happened to Alissa if she was present at his deathbed. Mike also told police that he would confess the full story if they promised him a lethal injection within 10 days. If that doesn't scream, you're guilty, I don't know what the fuck could. He wants to tell someone with no repercussions. Like,
Yeah.
He doesn't want Sarah to know her whole life that his father was a disgusting person who murdered her sister, until his deathbed when he's about to, like, pass on. And then he wants to be able to tell the police what he did, but then die. Like, come on now. Like, coward. I'm sorry. He's a goddamn coward.
Oh, for sure. And also, if he wasn't guilty, why would anyone fucking say that? No one would.
No, you'd be preaching your innocence till the day you died, right? Yeah. Not being like, actually, I do have something to tell you, but
which
on my way out.
Exactly. And kind of like in a bit of contrast, he also like professes his innocence, like he had nothing to do with it, but then says that shit, and you're like,
no, that's
dude,
weird.
we all know what's up.
Yeah,
we just have no fucking evidence.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god,
damn, right? So after 5 days of testimony, the state rested its case on July 17th, 2023. Defense attorneys Jamie Jackson and Olivia Hicks argued for acquittal under Rule 20, citing a lack of physical evidence proving Alyssa's death or Mike's involvement. The prosecution countered, emphasizing that a vibrant 17-year-old girl with close relationships would not simply disappear and abandon her prized possessions. Ultimately, Judge Sam Meyer sided with the defense, ruling there was insufficient evidence for a conviction. And on July 18th, Mike Turney was acquitted of all charges related to Alissa and was released from custody. Following the ruling, defense attorney Jamie Jackson shared a statement on Mike's behalf, saying, "He is happy that the judge saw it his way. He's excited that he'll be able to get out of custody. He is obviously still very concerned about the case and Alissa and trying to find out who actually killed her." That's not a slap in the fucking face. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm sorry. Oh, I just got angry, but like, you're fucking lucky. Because although there was no physical evidence, like, remains were found, a fucking map to that site were found in your home. Like, you're fucking lucky that there was no DNA evidence able to come from those remains. Because, damn, the circumstantial evidence was overwhelming in this case, pointing towards your guilt. And you really got off on a technicality because the case wasn't looked into sooner.
Well, exactly. And they can't definitively say that she is dead, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I think we all are probably thinking the same thing. Like, she most likely is not alive.
Yeah.
And that he did something, but they can't physically prove it.
But I'm still like, oh God, like, cases have been brought to trial with less circumstantial evidence than this. Like,
my God.
It's just really shocking. And I really think he dodged a bullet on this one.
Oh, hands down.
So Alyssa's siblings, Sarah and James Turney, expressed mixed emotions in a statement shared on Sarah's podcast, which is called Voices for Justice. Sarah said, "While, of course, this is not the result any of us wanted, we're grateful for the Maricopa County Attorney's Office for taking Alyssa's case to trial. They thanked the detectives, nonprofit groups, and the true crime community, calling them Alyssa's army. Sarah tearfully addressed her sister, saying, "I love you and I'm sorry. You moved mountains to protect me from the reality of our lives so I could have the best childhood possible. That is something I can never repay you for. I just hope you know that I tried and that you deserve so much better." James echoed her sentiment, saying, "Like my sister Sarah, my brother and I want to extend our thanks to all of you who have contributed in the process of trying to find justice for our sister, Alissa." So it's obviously clear that Alissa had siblings who really loved her and really went out of their way to try and find justice for her.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Turney's podcast launched in June 2019, and all she has done since then is try to advocate for Alissa and bring attention to her disappearance. So I just commend them for that. That is awesome. It must be heart-wrenching to receive the news that they did, despite their efforts. But
sure.
It's just really nice to see how loved Alissa was or is to this day, right?
Yep.
So obviously, without any concrete proof of Alissa's death or what happened to her, her case remains unresolved. But Michael Turney still remains the prime suspect in the public's eye. And honestly, probably in the court system. Like, they have to know, like, we had to dismiss this case, but only because of the, like, logistics of law.
Exactly.
Not because we don't think that you are potentially guilty of a heinous crime.
Yeah, just the legality.
So all we can do is hope that one day the full truth will come to light and that at least maybe people will have answers and more concrete evidence about what happened to a beloved person, clearly. So, Becky, this is the case of Alissa Turney. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for sharing.
And just your weekly reminder to download our weekly episodes, follow us on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever streaming platform you listen to us on, and give us a follow on our social medias. You can find us at Luminol on the Wall. Can't wait till next week.